Well, I think the CBN as an institution has identified a challenge, and within the confines of its own mandate, would want to address that challenge. A major mandate of the CBN is price stability, and of course, control and regulation of liquidity. And I'm trying to use what you call the basic language. And of course, the liquidity would translate to mean that if you have so much money in circulation, and you are not producing so much, to find equity between the quantum of money in that circulation and what you have in your economy, there will be a tendency for prices to go up. Because just like Madam said, you now have more money, chasing few goods. We particularly have a situation or a scenario of less commodity, as a result of some of the things Prof and Madam had said, especially in the food area. And even more concerning is the fact that data had also shown that there had been a surge in liquidity in our economy, what they call broad money, between M2 and M3. In May, M2 was 55.5 trillion naira. That's easily accessible, convertible cash money in the system. From that, by June, it had gone up to 64 trillion. So the data is showing that you have so much money in circulation, and sometimes this money could become actually errant money that does not have utility value, and to that extent it would mean that the surge would be addressing or be pursuing demand that cannot be sated because of shortage of supply. So for the CBN, it is not even about concerns for fiscal, but the fact that you even have that data in place should give a central banker the headache that it has to control the volume, the quantum of money in circulation. But the truth of the matter is we have found ourselves in a situation where well thought out policy of government, had created these challenging, scenarios. The idea would now be, how do we attend to it? All of a sudden, the whole of Africa, from the West African region through to the Sahel, had started targeting Nigeria as a source of cheap food. That's reality. And unfortunately, we had also not used our resources the way we are supposed to use our land resources, which is more or less vested, in our subnationals. The latest data is that we have merely used, out of the 75 million hectares of arable land available to us, we have used just about 44% of that, over time. And it means that more than 54% of our arable land are remained, unemployed for its purpose. So there are still so many things we need to do. And thankfully, food production is not a long-term thing. When you properly and appropriately employ land, for instance, within 6 months, you can start feeling the impact in the economy. So for me, it is not a situation of despair. I see opportunities, If the whole of Africa decides to eat our food, and we have 54% of our arable land still unemployed, it's an opportunity to drive production. It's an opportunity to earn more money. And most importantly, this black hole that had been created by the informal sector, just like Prof said, people come into Nigeria, buy our food, in domestic currency. So we are losing on both sides. So you have foreigners coming into the country, buying in domestic currency, which means that they should actually have bought in foreign currency, which would have added to our foreign exchange reserve, So there's also a need for the fiscal authority to create a control at that level, control our borders in such a way that even if you are going to buy food, let us ensure that you are buying in foreign currency. So that also help our farmers in the first instance, and by extension, help the country. So for my thinking is that we should see this as a challenge and as an opportunity. And of course, give that 6 months window, just as the federal government had said, had this policy of food importation. And for me, just like CBN also noted, the policy is not going to engender a direct cash injection, into the economy. It is to say, if you have money, if you are interested in this particular segment of the economy, you can import food. The federal government will not charge levy or taxes. And my typical example is rice. A bag of rice coming into the country, before now, would charge a total of 70% tax and levy. So if that 70% is reduced, it automatically translates to mean that 70% value of what we used to buy had been removed for this next 150 days. So I think there are measures that are being put in place to address this challenge. But for the CBN, I have nothing against the CBN. The CBN has seen a challenge and it's addressing that challenge.
Well, since you have mentioned the one you don't have nothing against, perhaps you will also tell us the one you have something against. So who is it?
No, of course, the more effective collaboration that is expected between the Monetary Policy Authority and the Fiscal Authority. And of course, when we start also talking about that, you see dimensions it will also take. It's not a linear issue. There's so much to it that you need to address from a multiple point of view.
All right.